listening to Tassie Encounters Moments on Faith FM, and we're coming to you from Tasmania, right across Australia. Each weekday at 9am, you can hear what the Bible says about past, current and future events. You can learn how to study the Bible more effectively. You can get to know who God is, why we're here and where we're going. And you can experience personal encounters with Jesus. I'm your host, Jason Cook, and today David Maxwell is back with us to finish off our topic of this week, out of Egypt. Welcome, David.
Yeah, hi Jason. Today we're going to have a look and we're going to question some of the things we've covered. I mean, it's one thing to read a topic and to take what we think the Bible is saying out of it, but I think it's also important to question sometimes. So we're going to ask some questions today and see if the Bible has some answers.
Now, if you want to catch up on our episodes from the week, do that on faithfm.com.au website or download our app from the App Store, Faith FM Australia. And we've been asking you this question: have you ever been called to leave somewhere you felt comfortable and move somewhere else? I think for me, David, it probably was when I left home to go to university, sort of the first time that I'd moved away, and obviously moving into a college accommodation environment wasn't quite as comfortable as your home. So,
no, takes some adjustments, doesn't it? Yeah.
So
today I can relate to that. So today we've been looking all week about coming out of Egypt. God called Moses and the Israelites out of the physical country of Egypt, and the Bible refers to that in the spiritual sense, that God is calling us out of the world. Now, we read a passage, I might reread that for us, in 1 Peter 2, 9-12. It says, "You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Now, I think that's interesting because many people look at the world today and go, what sort of question do you think they might ask today, Jason?
Well, maybe a question might be, well, is the world really all that dark? Is it really that bad? But then at the same time, I've had somebody recently ask me who's not a Christian, why is the world so bad? So it goes both ways.
True.
Why is there so much trouble around? But yeah, for some people, the world's pretty good.
Yeah, and why would you leave the known for the unknown? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, that's true.
And I look at things like what's happening in Victoria. I actually know the man that's accused of this terrible crime against the police. And I've seen him for years. I've seen him with very unusual viewpoints and a very dark view of what's happening in the world. So, I think you see both. Is the world really that dark? Well, ask the families of those that are affected by this tragedy. It's pretty dark.
And you don't have to look very hard to see evidence of that. There are so many things that you see, well, where has all this come from? But then, you have other people who are doing all right, and they say, I've got everything I need. I think that's one of the challenges we have in our society today. In
Australia, for sure.
In Australia, where people have everything they need, and there's no reason to move away from that because everything's comfortable. They've got their money, they've got their house, they've got their jobs, their careers, and everything else. So I guess in that context, what does it even mean to leave that behind? If God is calling us out, what is he calling us out to even?
Yeah, does the Bible actually say? I mean, when you say they left, they called you out of darkness. I mean, how do people come out of darkness? Maybe if you look a bit further, it talks about fleshly lusts, warring against the soul. Does that mean it's wrong to be sexual? Is that what it's saying?
No,
does it mean you can't be like that?
I think the Bible also outlines what's God's expectation for sex and intimacy within marriage and all of that sort of thing. So,
Yep. But does he call me to give up everything, do you think, Jason? Does the Bible say that? I seem to remember it does.
I think there is and has been a concept in Christianity that Christians are meant to be poor.
Yeah.
We're meant to give everything away so that we have nothing. And the question is that actually a picture? But I think there are a few Bible passages that we could look at perhaps when it comes to some of this.
Why don't you look at one you and I are talking about in Luke?
Yeah, Luke chapter 9, verse 23 to 26. This is Jesus calling people, really. He said to them all, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and is himself destroyed or lost?" Interesting.
So, this is as you were reading, I was thinking, there's almost this juxtapose concepts here where you deny yourself. If you're going to come after him, you deny yourself, you take up the cross and follow me. There was a story, the rich young ruler.
Yeah, in Matthew,
that you and I were talking about.
Matthew 19. And at the end of that one, Jesus said, "Go sell everything you've got and give it to the poor."
Everything. And give it to the poor.
He didn't say sell half of your stuff.
No. But I like the word that's added in Luke here. It says, take up our cross daily.
Yeah.
So can you give everything away, literally, every day?
Probably not.
No, you can't. Because if you did it the first day, it's gone. So is it talking about our material things that God wants us to get rid of? Is he saying to us, like he said to the rich young ruler, sell it all, give it to the poor, live on a street?
What
do you think?
I think it all depends on whether that is your idol. So I think that's the thing, isn't it? That I think whatever gets in the way of our relationship, you see, God says you should not have idols or worship things apart from him.
Right.
And I think anything that gets in the way of that or takes a higher priority than our relationship with God has the ability to take us away from God and, send us in a direction which is back to Egypt.
Which I think is what Jesus is hinting to in Luke chapter 9 there, where he says, well, not hinting, he's saying quite directly, deny yourself. And we've looked at many verses, you take up your cross daily. What was Jesus' cross? He had a mission for others, and that was to save the world. What's our mission for others? If we want to follow Jesus, we've got a mission that Jesus calls us to, and it's the same as his mission.
I think the first thing that he calls us to is to maintain and have that daily relationship with him. And secondly, we've got a secondary mission, which is to share that with other people.
Yeah. So Paul talks a lot about this, and he says that we should be in the world, but not of the world. Now, that's actually quite an interesting concept too, isn't it? I mean, what do you think? What do you think it means to be in the world?
I think it means that we can't separate ourselves from the world entirely. I guess some people try. They go out into the country and live on their own, and store lots of things away, ready for the doomsday, the preppers.
Doomsday preppers.
But I think it's not. I don't think it's really God's plan for us to isolate ourselves in that way from people, because ultimately, how can we be a positive influence on people? As Egypt was a negative influence on the Israelites, how can we be a positive influence on people if we are completely isolated and away and never interacting with the world? So I think to be in the world means that we have to actually live here. We've got to interact with people. We've got to demonstrate what God's light really means.
Yeah. So the rich young ruler that Jesus addressed, Jesus said to him, okay, if you want to get to heaven, you need to do all these things. And all of those things was how you relate to other people. And he says, I've always done that. I've always cared for the poor and done this and done that. And he'd done all the right things that you'd expect a Christian to do today. You know, looking after the poor and looking after the homeless and all the rest of it. But Jesus said, get rid of all your stuff.
Mm.
And he knew that this guy had a longing for the stuff. And when Jesus said that, he hit a nerve in his heart. It's like, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. So he wasn't so much saying to everyone, you know, become poor, sell all your stuff and get rid of it. He was addressing the thing that was really the stumbling block in his heart. And that was the first 4 commandments. You know, put God first. Put God first. Follow him. Do all those things. The rest come naturally when you do that. So I think being in the world means you've got to live here. You know, if you sell everything today, what are you going to do tomorrow? You'll be out on the street and you'll be poor. So he's not saying do that, but don't make the acquisition of wealth the most important thing. Being of the world means having all of those priorities and making that number one in your life and putting God on the back burner. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think
so. In the world, but not of the world. That I think is how it's possible. And when Jesus is talking in Luke chapter 9 here, he says, deny yourself, take up your cross, take up the challenge that God has for you daily, and that is the daily connection with him.
And what are we denying ourselves of? We're denying ourselves of those selfish things, you know, that we're thinking about. Oh, if we have that, that'll make us happy. You know, God only asks us to give up things that aren't good for us.
Right.
I really believe that.
And so in that sense, he wants us to come away from all of the darkness. That's the priorities in our life. He doesn't want us to go and be esoteric and completely by ourselves and not talk to anyone, sit on a pole for the rest of our life.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Thank you, David. Well, that's put a practical slant on what it means to be called out of Egypt. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for presenting this week. And we've got our last chance to claim our book offer coming up.
This program is made possible by the support of Adventist World Radio.
Our book offer this week has been At Jesus' Feet by Doug Batchelor, The Gospel According to Mary Magdalene. Someone to love me. That's all she wanted. All anyone really wants. We're all addicts, sinaholics, as he puts it, trying to fill with various addictions a gaping void in our hearts designed for God. Take Mary Magdalene. She was a prosperous prostitute, but her life was one sad, sordid story until she met someone who loved her with a pure, unconditional love. And after that, the shame of her past was eclipsed by her absolute devotion to the one who set her free. That's our book offer, At Jesus' Feet. Text us in TEM44 to 0488 880 891 to claim that. Thank you, David, for joining us this week. It's been great, and it must be good for you to also remember those steps that you walked in Egypt and to bring those pictures back to your mind as well.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, awesome. I haven't been to Egypt, maybe one day. As we go out today, this is Call Me Your Own by Isla Vista Worship and John Jin Han.
God bless,
May
Jason.
You
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. May you encounter Jesus more today.
I was just an orphan who did not know who his father was. By your mercy you adopted me. You've paid the highest cost in exchange for my messy heart. You had left your throne to set me free. You're not ashamed to call me your own. You have loved me with your whole heart. You have chosen me. You're not ashamed to call me your own. You have given me a new heart. You have rescued me from myself.
This program has been made possible by the support of Adventist World Radio.